Hey everybody, Jeff Joyner here. And today I'm going to tell you the story of the Homecoming Heartbreak, about a series of events that happened in my life in December of 1986. Before I get into it, if you're enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, and you can be notified whenever I come out with new videos. So I grew up in Michigan. I actually went to a very small school called Bethany Christian School. And it was, now you hear like, oh, Christian school, like, fancy, like private education. It really was kind of a low quality school that was attached to our church and, very small. I had 40 kids in my graduating class. Pros and cons of going to a very small school. The advantage was you could play whatever sport you want. I don't even think we had tryouts. I think we just, you want to play, you're on the team. We had trouble getting 10 people for a basketball team just to be able to scrimmage 5-on-5. But that's where I went to school, met some amazing people. I had a good time there. It was pretty strict in some ways religiously. But also just some awesome people that, have become lifelong friends of mine that I got to know. And you've heard some stories about some of my interactions with teachers and different things. But this story is about my senior year homecoming. Now, one of the things about going to such a small school is we didn't have a football team. We had a soccer team that I played on the soccer team. And in fact, it was pretty good. You may have seen my video about how I thought I was going to be a college soccer star and the time I got cut from the college soccer team. I got a video about that. But I also played basketball. And in our school and the other schools that we played against in our little conference, we all had our homecomings during basketball season. I know that's weird. It's usually during football season. Our homecomings were during basketball season. And so we had our homecoming, and we scheduled our arch rivals that we were going to play against for that homecoming game. And as I was getting ready, I wanted to have a date. I was on the basketball team, so I was going to be playing in the big game. I had been voted by the student body to be on the homecoming court. And so there was 3 guys and 3 women who were part of the homecoming court. And I knew it was going to be a big night for me because I'm on the homecoming court, which happens between the varsity game and the JV game. And then I'm going to play in the varsity game. I'm the captain of the team, not the best player, but I was the captain. And then afterwards, a bunch of people are going out. I wanted to have a date to go out with after the game. And so all through high school, I was in love with a girl named Pam. Unfortunately, Pam had a boyfriend that went to another school, and he actually was a pretty cool guy, and so I didn't really want to try to steal her, and she wasn't interested in me, and so I couldn't go out with Pam, even though she was on the homecoming court too. And but there was another girl that I really had, a crush on, one of the prettiest girls in school. Her name was Anne, and I'm like, man, I want to ask Anne out. I might come across now as a pretty confident guy, and I suppose I am later in life, a pretty confident dude. But back then, I was like any other high schooler. I was totally afraid of rejection. Had trouble, putting myself out there sometimes, and not really afraid to talk to girls, I guess, because I talked a lot, but like the rejection of asking them out. And I know today, as a parent of teenagers, when you ask, it's all different now. Like first you're talking, which means you're interested. And then you ask someone out, which we used to call going steady. I wasn't ready to go steady with anybody. But the night before homecoming, we're decorating the gym, our janky old gym that we used to play basketball in. And I got up the courage to ask Anne, hey, Anne, would you like to go out with me tomorrow after the game? And she said, yes, that sounds great. And I was so excited. Right? Got past the rejection, the risk of rejection, and I'm going out with that. So this is shaping up to be a pretty awesome night. So first the JV team played, and then we had the homecoming. I actually found some footage recently of this night, which made me remember to tell this story. And so I got some footage of us, as the homecoming court. So they turned off all the lights in the gym, and they had a spotlight, and they called us up, one at a time.
Jeff Joyner.
And I think, again, we didn't really know how they did it at other schools. But at our school, the weird way they did it is in the senior class, they had 3 guys and 3 women, and they didn't tell us ahead of time who was paired with who. And so it wasn't like we were somebody's escort. And And so there's me walking out, and my friends, Kirk was on the court, my friend Dan was on the court, Pam was on the court. This is blurry, low-quality footage, but this is Pam in the purple dress. And then Ann was also on the court. I don't think my dad was filming all this. I don't think that he got footage of that. But then they announced, and they also, the weird thing at our school is they didn't call it Homecoming King and Queen. They called it Mr. and Miss Bethany. So you were Mr. and Miss Bethany if you got elected to the homecoming court. And so Pam and I got the most votes. And so we were Mr. and Miss Bethany. Here we are. She got her little tiara put on her head. And I got some flowers to hand to her. And then they had us go sit. Oh, wait, there we are standing. That's Ann on the right. And she came in second place. And she's hanging out over there with Danny, but me and Pam, then we sat in these weird wicker chairs, or wicker thrones, as Mr. and Miss Bethany. And so, pretty cool experience. And so right after getting crowned Mr. Bethany, I run back in, I change, and our team's running out of the locker room. Since I was the captain, I was the first one to bust through the door. We had this paper thing set up. It's so stupid looking back on it. And you can actually see my dad is going to take a picture of me coming through here. So you see my dad in the video. And I come busting through, almost run over my dad. And then we start running around, getting ready for the game. And I got some footage of us playing. Now, you will notice that the floor of this gym is not made of wood. You know, they've been playing basketball since the 1800s on wood floors. But our broke, janky school could not afford a wood floor. And so our gym had a tile floor. I still get knee pain from playing for years on that tile floor. But I got some footage of us playing. I got to admit, looking back on it, we're not as good as I thought we were at the time. We are a bunch of terrible basketball players running around. But I do got some footage to show you. And so there we are, our pregame routine. We'd run around. We thought we were so cool. And then we do some layup drills. Nobody on our team can dunk a basketball. But we were doing some layups. Then we had the national anthem, which there I am with my hand on my heart. Still do that every time to this day. And then some footage of us playing. I'm number 50 in these videos. And so you see me, there I am doing some full court pressure. I think I'll be passing the rock off. That's actually my brother who made that shot, my brother Darren. Always a much better athlete. Here's Darren stealing the ball, going coast to coast. He missed at the end, but I think he drew the foul. And first action. This guy travels, and then I just start clapping right in his face. It's me with the rebound. I'm open, shooting the rock. 2 points. Interestingly, back in these days, they did not have a three-point line in high school basketball. This guy fouled me. I knocked him on the floor. I don't know why they called a foul on him. But they didn't have a three-point line, and so they just had 2 points. That's the guy traveling. I stole the ball from him out of his hand. Gave it to the referee. That's funny. And so nobody shot long, deep shots because they just didn't make a lot of sense, because in the year after I graduated is when they added the three-point line. Cross-court pass to me. Shooting the rock. Another 2 points. As you can see, I was not that great. I wasn't the star by any means. I think I averaged 13 points a game, which is very average. We did have our cheerleaders. Now, since it was a Christian school, our cheerleaders had the longest skirts in town. Have you ever seen such long skirts on cheerleaders? We had the corner on that, that's for sure. All right, here we are with some second half action. And there's me shooting another jumper, kind of from that same spot. I ended up, that guy thought I charged him, but I didn't. It's my haranguing half-court defense. Also, as you can see, I was a lot thinner back in those days. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what it was like me playing basketball. And so we won the game against our arch rivals. Now, we were not a good team. In fact, the yearbook did us wrong. I looked at their yearbook recently, and what the yearbook described and said, the 1986-87 Bruin basketball team came closer to winning half of their games than any team in school history. So we were not known as a basketball powerhouse. What a lame statistic. But we did win that game. And so here I am, homecoming king, Mr. Bethany, captain of the winning the game, the homecoming basketball game against our arch rivals. I told Ann, hey, I'm going to go get cleaned up. I'll be right back out. Wait here. Go in the locker room. Getting cleaned up. I'm thinking, this is like the greatest day ever. Could this day get any better? So I get all cleaned up, get my varsity jacket on, come walking out. Where's Ann? Ann? This is back before cell phone days. I could just send her a snap. I'm looking all around. She was right here a minute ago. And I'm looking around. I'm like one of the last people to leave the school. I finally see one of my classmates. Hey, have you seen Ann? She goes, oh, Ann left with her friends. A long time ago. She left me hanging. So now I end up going over. Everyone was hanging out to someone's house. So I thought I was going to be going with Ann. I told everybody I was going out with Ann. Showed up by myself. And I was embarrassed. And I was crushed. Now, interestingly, I was so non-confident. I didn't want to talk to her about it. I just pretended it didn't happen. And, Monday at school, she said, oh, sorry, Diana and some of my friends, they were wanting to go and they wanted me to go with them. And so I just went out. I'm like, oh, no problem. It's no big deal. No big deal. I didn't tell her she broke my heart. And we went on to be friends, I'm going to give you a moral of the story. But first, it's important that you know that it all turned out okay. Right. I'm now happily married. So is Ann. So is Pam. We're all happily married with kids and doing great. And it all worked out perfect how it should. But there's some morals to the story, right? Is that all in the same day, I had the highest highs and the lowest lows. And that has been the story of my life. High highs and low lows. And probably you too. Probably higher highs than that. And probably lower lows than that. Since then, I've had much higher highs and I've had much lower lows. And it's just been my experience. That's what life is. It's going to have ups and downs. It is. And some of the things I've learned that the lows make you appreciate the highs, right? That it's only in contrast to the times when you're miserable and feeling blue, that the times when you're, winning on top of the world are really, really meaningful. Another lesson from it is even though I broke my heart when Ann stood me up outside the locker room, that was a failure experience. If you've seen my video on the power of failure, failure is how you learn. Failure is how you grow, right? The fact that I went through that process and struggled through it and a bunch of other times, asking girls out. Sometimes it went well, sometimes it didn't. Sometimes they were all for it. Sometimes they shot me down. But I did that with dozens of girls, maybe hundreds of girls before a year after the big homecoming game. It was just less than a year later that I met a girl from Vermont and I told my buddy, that's the girl I'm going to marry. And I had the confidence to pursue her. And sure enough, in a couple of weeks, we celebrate our 32nd wedding anniversary. So, hey, you're going to go through some heartbreak, probably some of it much, much more serious than I went through on homecoming night 1986. But I can tell you got to sometimes have a long-term perspective and think, someday we're going to look back on this and laugh. Someday it's going to all be funny. There's lessons to learn. It's no big deal. This too shall pass. And so I don't know if Ann will ever see this, but Ann, I forgive you. And things really did work out okay. But going back to looking at those videos, man, what memories it brought back. I saw, even sitting in the stands, I saw old friends of mine that I haven't seen in years. And what a time, the 1980s. So hopefully you enjoyed that story. Have a great day. We'll catch you later. God bless.